the rest of us have to share what's left over. So, we know we're rapidly becoming that same kind of situation where most of the country is poor, is below poverty level, where just a few people have most of the wealth.
You mentioned earlier Barack Obama has declared a state of national emergency. For months, they've been bringing troops home in case of civil unrest, whether it be the swine flu or whether it be from economic collapse. The World Health Organization's had us at level 6 for so long now, really before you saw a lot of people with the swine flu. The National Guard has been advertising for internment specialists, an actual position now for the National Guard. Mm-hmm. And we've got HR 645 where they are in Congress, where they're going to fund building internment camps on military bases. And we report on our radio show, it's practically every other day, where we've got urban warfare training drills by the military with local law enforcement in America on Americans. How close do you think we are to the possibility of a martial law scenario, whether it be swine flu, economic collapse, and a police state here in America, something we've talked about for a long time but we've not actually seen? Because it looks like the apparatus has been put in place.
Well, I think it depends, like I also said, where you live and what you do, whether you've seen the police state. There's been people in this country who have seen the police state, since they were brought over here on slave ships. And now I believe, and I think I'm right, that we have really been under martial law since 9/11. And I think that Barack Obama, in fact, I know Barack Obama extended that national state of emergency when that they re-extend every year. So, like you said, I think the apparatus are there. It's all in place for an all-out suppression of dissent. Now, I was in, or just suppression of not dissent, but of people gathering to, because, we might see food riots, we might see runs on banks, we might see people who have enough and go to robber class institutions and demand, some of what's rightfully theirs back. We might see that, and we know it's already in place. The apparatus to squash that is already in place, of course. But I was at the G20 protests in Pittsburgh, and we were all peaceful. We had no weapons. We had, some of us had signs. Some of us just were there to protest what the G20 was about to do, and that's concentrating more wealth in the hands of fewer people. And we did not see protest suppression at the G20. We saw a protester attack. They would corral us in a park or into an area, and the police state would just start chasing people, and they literally chase them down like rabbits, throw them on the ground, beat them, cuff them, arrest them, and they weren't doing anything wrong. All they were doing was exercising their First Amendment rights.
We'd interviewed Luke Radowski. He was...
Yeah, we were together a lot of those times running from the police, and they didn't, like I said, they just didn't want to disperse us, because we would disperse and we'd go into blocks away, and they would come in vans to chase us down.
Do you think there's going to have to be a move at some point by the government to eradicate the Second Amendment if they really want to bring America to its knees and institute some kind of a world government?
I don't think so, because I think they know that their arsenal is way more powerful than anything that we can put together. So, they have all kinds of crowd control, and they have nuclear weapons, and I don't think that they would be. We have been nuked in this country. They've done tests that, on places that have spread to populated areas. So they don't care about using their weapons on Americans, and that used to be against the law. We used to have something called posse comitatus. And I just want to say one last thing is, I don't know if we talked about it on the radio show earlier, But I am planning on an action in Washington, D.C. I'm calling it Piece of the Action, P-E-A-C-E of the Action. And hopefully by spring, I'm going to have 5,000 people committed to going to Washington, D.C. and every day have 1,000 people in 10, 100 people in 10 different locations, shutting down intersections, shutting down buildings, really clogging up the empire. And our demands are going to be very simple. Troops out of Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan, no drone bombings, no mercenaries, close permanent bases, close torture facilities, and get our troops and our military presence out of there. And we're it's not symbolic. We're not doing anything symbolic. We're saying we're gonna stay there. We're gonna do this every day until you meet our demands. And so if people want more information on Piece of the Action, they can actually email me at cindyssoapbox@gmail.com.
It's interesting you bring that up. This past week I was studying the Bonus Army, World War I veterans.
Yep.
And
it's a lot like what we're planning, and we're going to also construct a tent city right on the lawn of the Washington Monument, between the monument and the White House. Why should homeless and jobless people hide from the people that made them that way? So we want to be right in their faces.
Hey, I commend you for it. I appreciate it very much. Keep up the good fight. You're doing a great work, and I know it's been a tough road. I mean, I'm sure. I was reading your Wikipedia page, all the arrests, and I don't know how accurate all that, but it was quite a few.
I've had about 13 by now. I just chained myself to the White House a couple weeks ago and got arrested.
Wow.
And Barack Obama didn't meet with me. He was meeting with his war council, but he wouldn't meet with anybody that has a voice of reason.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
It was a
you.
pleasure having you on
You
today,
too.
and